Hey everybody, it's Scott from Gray 17. Usually right now you'd be listening to one of our podcasts and we had promised you in the beginning this week, but a couple things came up and we weren't able to record that episode. But a few weeks ago, we got to interview Maggie Egan-Cummings, who plays Jane, better known as the anchor woman for ISN through literally the entire run of the show. So she was wonderful to chat with and I can't wait to share that interview with you. So here's what's going to happen. On April 14th, Sunday, on our YouTube channel, which is linked down below at 9 p.m. U.S. Central Time, we will do our live Season 4 recap. That will then be on the podcast Wednesday, as per normal. And then the Wednesday after, we'll drop our episode of In the Beginning. And then we'll go straight into Season 5. So again, apologize that there's no episode this week, but I hope you enjoyed this interview with Maggie. And please, 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 be sure to like, subscribe, follow, and leave a review. And we'll be back next week with our Season 4 live recap.
With 70% of the vote tallied, we are declaring incumbent President Luis Santiago the victor over challenger Marie Crane. Santiago's campaign was based on a promise to cut the budget and to keep Earth out of war. His agenda for the coming term includes creating a close...
unable to determine at this time how many have been killed in the recent attacks on Mars by EarthGov forces. President Clark has announced that the attacks will continue until the Mars Provisional Government accedes to martial law. So far, there's been no reaction from any of the outer colonies concerning these attacks.
Jane, I'm sorry to jump in like this, but we have to... The colonies at Orion 7 and Proxima 3 have just broken away from the Earth Alliance in protest over the bombing of Mars. They're setting themselves up as independent states until such time as President Clark is impeached.
Rick, don't do this.
Clark doesn't want this information released, but we have to go with this now because I don't know how much longer we can stay on the air. Armed troops have begun moving in on the ISN Broadcast Center here in Geneva. We just saw them coming around the corner. We're trying to get a camera down there to document what's going on. I can hear gunfire now up here on the 14th floor. Listen to me. There's information you don't have, but going on for the last year, we haven't been allowed to tell you. Get down!
Hello. I want to welcome back our viewers. We've been gone a long time. Over a year since ISN was captured by elite forces sent by President Clark. Over a year since martial law was declared. Many of us and our associates at other networks were imprisoned, interrogated, even killed. All that changed last night. At 1:45 a.m., Earth Standard Time, a multiplanetary force led by ships loyal to a free Earth engaged Clark's forces directly.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to a bonus episode of Gray 17 Podcast, a Babylon 5 podcast. We are a group of newbies watching Babylon 5 for the very first time, as well as a group of first ones watching Babylon 5 for the umpteenth time. And if you are following along with us on the series, we are at the tail end of Season 4. And one of the big factors in Season 4, both at the beginning and at the end, is our lovely friends over at Interstellar News Network. And we are happy today to have with us a B5 alum who was a main part of that, actually started out on the very first episode, Midnight on the Firing Line, and continued on through the entire series as Jane, the ISN main top lady, and that is Maggie Egan-Cummings. Maggie, thanks so much for joining us. We appreciate it so very much.
Well, I appreciate you guys. Thank you for inviting me. That's very nice. Yeah, see, the fans know more about this show than I do. I was on the first episode.
Yeah, you had a really good early 90s hairdo. I just watched it a few minutes ago. Had the perm going. It was great.
I had no perm. Let's
get it. I apologize.
Oh, girl, this is me going straight. Can you girls relate? Come on. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that was curly hair going as straight as I could for short hair. But yes, okay, so I was on the first episode. So, I have had fans tell me stuff I didn't know. I did know I was on every season, right? But somebody came up to me once and said, Maggie, did you know that? And I'm not saying this to get anybody angry at me, although maybe it will make people angry, but I've been told, and you verify because I don't know. They said you were on more episodes than some of the series regular cast.
I would
And
not be surprised by that.
I was recurring, I think, is what they called me.
I don't know. I mean, you probably know this. You have a Babylon 5 fandom page. all to
No, I
yourself.
don't know this. What? What? Are you
Yeah.
kidding?
Yeah, you got a full one here, and I'm looking at it. Let's see. Let's count them. We've got in season 1, 3 appearances. Season 2, 2 appearances. It's 5. Season 3, 2 appearances. We're up to 7. Season 4, 2 appearances. We're up to 9. And then in season 5, and by the way, Nicole and Emily are our 2 newbies, so they have not seen season 5 yet, but you're in an episode in season 5. And you even did the Babylon 5 spinoff for 3 episodes, Crusade. So yeah, I wouldn't doubt it. I know you got more hits than Walter Koenig because he was only on 13 episodes during the show as Bester. So yeah, you're doing pretty good.
He was pretty much a well-known star, though, so it didn't matter. They must have been thrilled to get him, right?
So tell us a little bit about how that happened. Tell us, tell us your life. What's the biography, and how do you get from wanting to be an actor to finding out that you're going to be a news anchor on a sci-fi show on a 2-bit network in the 90s?
I don't know why, but I feel like I should be on a couch. Well, doctor. That's my mom, I think, was into theater a lot, but she did say to me one summer, you know what, you should go take this summer theater workshop. I was like going into 9th grade, and I did, and we did Theater of the Absurd, Edward Albee's The American Dream, if any theater people out there know of it. And I played Mrs. Barker. I was, I think, 14 years old. And one of the characters are Mommy, Daddy, The American Dream, Grandma, and Mrs. Barker. And Mrs. Barker comes to visit Mommy and Daddy and the rest of them. And when I come in, Mommy says to me, are you sure you're comfortable? Would you like to take off your dress? And I said, as a 14-year-old, using this voice, I don't mind if I do. And I had to take off my dress, you guys. I could see my mom. She was 4 rows back in a brightly lit band room. It wasn't like in the theater where they were way far away. I mean, they were right in our faces. And I had to take off my dress. I wore a thick slip and a 2-piece bathing suit because that was right. Girls are going, oh yeah, I get it.
Yeah. Oh yeah, not taking that off without something underneath. Yep. That's
it's going to be thick, and it's going to be something people do wear in public. So it was a scary thing, but I did that show, and I was hooked. I was hooked. I mean, we used to do stuff in our backyard. We had a great tree that grew out horizontally over the ground, and it had one broken stem, and we put rope on it so that it had 2 circles at the bottom so we could put our foot in it and mount it like it was our horse, and it kind of bounced a little. I mean, you have to understand, this is a different time. We didn't have PlayStation. Know what I mean? We used our backyards and our neighbors to entertain our little selves. Kick the can was big. But anyway, yeah, so I went to college and took theater classes, and when I moved to Houston, the same man who dragged me into playing a 14-year-old Mrs. Barker, Dan DiNicola, was our high school teacher, and he hooked me up with a woman who knew all that was going on in Houston, and she got me to a really good acting coach, Chris Wilson. And Chris was a wonderful Texas woman, and tough as nails. But, sometimes you learn best when you really feel like you're earning the applause, because if she didn't like you, she'd have her papers, like she'd be writing like as noisy as she could to distract you. The papers would be doing that. And then she'd get done. All right. Now, but when you did good, there was no note taking, and she would just belly laugh, and you knew you'd done well, So that was a good experience. I got my start in acting, professional acting in Houston. And if anybody out there is going, well, I think I want to be an actor, I get it. You want to be an actor. I don't recommend making a beeline for New York or LA. I think Houston was a smart, good place for me to go. The Dallas, that maybe Atlanta. There's some cities around that I have SAG-AFTRA union headquarters there, so they're definitely doing TV and movies, and I'm sure they're doing a lot of theater. So if you go to one of those smaller markets, it's just going to be an easier bridge. Because then when I came out to LA, I had quite a few credits, television, and a lot of commercials. And over the span of my long, I won't say how many decades, but it's been a few. I've amassed over 600 TV commercials, and 560 were for the Disney Channel alone. And so it's somewhere in the 600 something for commercials, and that includes radio too, and then over 60 TV shows and movies. In TV, it could be series regular, series recurring, top of show guest star, series regular. So it's it's just my life, and I don't think of it too much. But people will tell me, Maggie, that's a lot of credits. That's good. I'm like, oh, okay, because you never feel like you're as far along as you'd like to be, right? So what else should we chat about? What else do you want to know? Do you want to know about the audition for?
Yeah, sure, go for it.
Okay.
We're just kind of leaning back and letting you go.
Oh man, hop in anytime. Really, if you've got some questions. But I remember auditioning. I got a call for an audition, and it was, where am I driving to? In LA, there's something we call the Valley. It's the San Fernando Valley. You've got Warner Brothers there. I'm trying to think what else is there. I can't think offhand. But anyway, you pass Warner Brothers and go, where the hell am I going? And you're driving out into the hinterlands of this big valley, and all of a sudden you turn and you're going into something that looked like it used to be a warehouse. You've heard this, right? And it used to be a warehouse, and they turned it into a studio. And how smart were they to do it that way? And I auditioned, and I got the job. And then I went away and went, wow, I booked it. Yay. And I did the job, and I went home, and I felt, nice. Good for you, Maggie. But they called me back again. And you'll tell me how many times I was on the first year. But every time I finished that job, I'm like, well, that was nice. That was good. Good for me. Yay. And then 5 seasons, I was on every season. And then I got brought back, of all the IS, because there were more ISN news anchors, I've been told. And but I was the one, I guess Joe wanted to have come back on to Crusade. And from what I heard, and this is not from him, I wish, but I heard that he did that because having the ISN news anchor on from Babylon 5 appear on Crusade would lend continuity and give sci-fi fans a sense of, oh yeah, it's the same universe, at least, if not years later. So yeah.
Yeah, and we actually talked about that as we just finished up the episode where you come back after you've been, I guess, imprisoned by the dictator, which it was in the 90s, but it's kind of scary how prophetic that show could potentially be. But that's one of the things I love about how JMS ran his shows is that continuity. Is he could have easily gone and got another actor to come in and play that, but he wanted to make sure that we saw you leave the set and you came back to the set over a year later. And I think that's what makes the show something that, people do podcasts on 30 years later. It's the kind of stuff like that that really helps out with that too. So I love that kind of through line of you is there literally through the entire show. It's great.
I loved it too. And that scene where we're under attack, I didn't tell them, but I was pregnant at the time.
Oh,
I didn't want to have them go, oh, well, we can't throw things at you if you're pregnant. I just kept my mouth shut. And luckily, and I just thought, because it was very hard to find that station that had Babylon 5. And I don't like watching myself anyway. So I never saw any of the shows. I'm sorry. So it's awfully embarrassing. However, that's the truth. And then I had Emmy, and then I get another phone call saying they want you back on Babylon 5. And I'm like, what? Earth didn't blow up? I don't know. It's not like anybody, reports in Maggie, here's what's up. Let me get you up to date on B5. So to come back on and get to do, both of those scenes were kind of my most fun,
Absolutely. Yeah.
There was no acting. That stuff was being thrown at my head and I was really wincing. Be careful. No, I'm pregnant. No, I didn't. It was great to do that scene. And then, like I said, I thought we blew up or for sure I would have been anyway. So, to come back on, it was the perfect timing. I'd had Emmy, she was a little baby, and there I am doing that scene. And that scene is just it was such a gift. I'm so grateful to him to choose me to be the one to get those scenes. He gave me some good scenes. He gave me that Walter Cronkite moment, if any of you know who Walter Cronkite is.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. Nodding heads.
I really appreciate that you think we look young, but we're not.
Oh, you do. Oh, you do. I mean, not like 12-year-olds, but I need to check with my audience. Do they know who Walter Cronkite was? And I assume then you know who Kennedy was. And so to me, it was like that. He gave me that scene where talking about President fill in the blank.
Clark.
There you go. So I just got some really nice scenes that he wrote. I'm very grateful.
Maggie, it's funny that you just brought that up because that's actually one of the questions I wanted to ask you about. So, little background about me. I actually am a broadcaster. I'm on the radio. That's my job.
Oh, nice.
I'm a theater kid. And by the way, you exude so much charisma. I could just tell you love theater and you love acting. And I do community theater. I don't act on TV or anything, but I feel that same joy so I can feel that coming off of you. So I just love that. But yeah, so I, went to school, I studied journalism and I ended up on the radio and I work at a top 40 station and that's what I do. And I love it. So for me, I have a very soft spot for media, and that scene it was Endgame when you came back on and you were teary-eyed and you were talking that you were imprisoned, some people were killed, you guys were beaten. I literally was watching that scene and I had tears rolling down my face because the truth of the matter is that is something that does happen to journalists, so watching you give that performance, you were just so impactful and powerful, and it had a little bit more special meaning to me because I am a media professional myself, but I just you kind of touched on it, but how did you where did that, like, you just were so, like, where did that come from, that emotion? It was just so raw and like, I mean, I wrote so many notes. I wrote down almost every word you said, and I was like crying because I was like, I can't wait to talk about this on the podcast. Like, and ever since then, like, since, the episodes we've seen since then, it started and ended with the ISN report. So I always get excited when ISN is on because I'm like, ooh, but yeah, I just wanted to tell you, one, that you had such an impact on me with that episode and that scene, but also if there's any other nuggets you can talk about, or like just kind of how you get yourself into that kind of character and mentality to do such an emotional, powerful scene like that.
Oh, now you're making me cry. See?
Oh, I'm
No,
sorry.
we're even.
Nicole does that. That's kind of her shtick.
I'm the sentimental one. Thank you.
What are you, Barbara Walters? Oh my God. Yeah, thank you. That was just, I treasure what you just said. And I hope I get a recording of this so I can go
Aw.
back on those. I didn't get the job days and go, wait, Nicole liked me.
I
So,
did. I loved you.
thank you. We talked about this at MarsCon a few weeks ago in Minneapolis, and it came up. I just have to go to the writing of it,
Yeah.
and I'll add this on because most people don't know this. My sister was for a very long time a news reporter and news anchor.
Hmm.
So I remember in Houston when I lived there, I used to wake up and turn the news on. And one morning I saw some video of journalists in, I want to say somewhere in South America, and there was some uprising going on. And I don't know if they showed them getting killed or just being, in a terrible position where you knew it's not going to end well for them. And to know that, I had a sister that goes out and does some dangerous news reports. It I stopped watching the news in the morning
Yeah.
because I just couldn't take it. I couldn't anyway. So but when I read the script, it's just sort of a mind meld, I guess. The writer writes the words and really paints a picture in my mind, like when you're reading a book,
Yeah.
right? You read the book and somehow the pictures come in. And you're probably moved by something, or you laugh at something, or you think that guy's a jerk, or this one's, oh, I hope they make it. You've got somehow those words get into you,
Yeah.
without pictures or sound. So it's a very personal thing. You read the words and you're there, and you get a sense of the cell, and you get a sense of the beatings that, you watch enough TV, you have
Yeah.
something to go off of. So it's really just comes from the page, and you just gotta allow yourself to be put in that position. I will say one thing. My sister, Tracy Egan, she was a news reporter in New York City and
Oh.
a news anchor when she moved back to the Capital District, which is the Albany, Schenectady area of upstate New York. And but when she was working in New York, somebody was doing a movie of the week that had to do with JFK and Jacqueline Kennedy. And so I was living in Houston. I get a call from my sister. She never calls me. So I was delighted. And then she goes, okay, so I've been asked to come in and read for Jackie Kennedy in a movie of the week. And I had to go, why not me? It was I had a little bit of that, but then it's like, okay, good for you. Let's go. What do we have to do? And so she kind of reads through the script, and I said, okay, so when you're talking to T.H. White, the writer of the book, The Once and Future King, one of my favorite books, about King Arthur and Merlin and all of that. So he's having conversation with Jackie Kennedy after JFK is assassinated. And it's just, you know, so she's still in mourning, she's still sad. And so I said, well, you have to you have to put yourself in that position. Like, what if your husband died and what would that feel like? And you're trying to have this conversation. She goes, oh, I don't want to do that. So I knew she wasn't bound for the movie business, you know. She's really good at you know, questioning people and getting stories and doing the research. She's very smart. But I don't think this was her calling.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't want to go there. You have to be able to go there. You have
Yeah.
to be able to, okay, if it says someone is, you know, taking your baby, you have to allow yourself to feel those feelings.
Yeah.
And it's no fun. And that's why it can be exhausting. It's emotionally draining sometimes,
Yeah.
what we do. But uh, you know, you have to either be okay with that and kind of dig that you're able to go those places that, and you might have something to draw on from your past.
Sure.
And if
Yeah.
you don't, the imagination has to kick in, and that's what happens.
Yeah. Well, I will tell you one thing. As a little girl who used to do newscasts for her parents instead of play with her toys, you were very believable as a news anchor, and you could probably even do that as a backup job. So you definitely made an impact on me, and I thought you played that part very well. And I think what you just said is just so you hit the nail on the head of like, you have to be able to find that in you. And if you can't, you have to imagine it. And part of doing what you do is allowing yourself to go there. I mean, you know, that was oh, thank you. Just thank you for that gift too, because that was such a great answer.
Oh, good. I'll tell you a funny story about Tracy and I as kids. It should have been the indicator of indicators of which direction we were both going. We had a kitchen sink, and you know, it's like, okay, Tracy, Margaret, because my dad all used to call me Margaret. I'm so glad I'm just Maggie now. Margaret was too regal for me. But we'd stand at the kitchen sink, and we had, you know, the hose that you spray your dishes with, except ours never worked. So it became the perfect microphone for her to interview me, the man on the street. And it was so much fun. So, I mean, I think it was, that was a foreshadowing of things to come, because I'd play anything she wanted me to be, that man on the street, whatever the topic was. And she was doing the straight part, asking the questions and getting the answers.
That's amazing.
Yeah, pretty interesting. Yeah.
Oh, I have a question.
Yeah.
Since you talked about books, it looks like you have a book title on the image behind you. Is that what's going on back there? I gotta know. I'm a book nerd. I love to read.
I don't have a book, but I have a script.
Ah,
Can I tell you a little bit about it?
absolutely. I want to hear all about it.
Okay. Obviously, it's a story called Cupid Fest. It's set in LA and the west coast of Ireland. It's the story of two Irish American sisters of a certain age. Let's call them queenagers, who are bloodied on the battlefield of love and decide to escape to Ireland in search of love and adventure. And along the way, they realize that they can be the heroes of their own coming of age story. Now, a couple things inspired me to write this, and I co-wrote it with another friend of mine who's also Irish American, who also loves Ireland deeply, as I do. And so between her experiences of going to Ireland and mine, we combined forces and became the sisters in the writing of the script. So a couple things occurred. So my dad passed away. I forget what year, but you know, my mom and I don't live very near upstate New York, but my mom's still back there, so I'll fly back from LA to go see her. And so it was a year or two after my dad had passed away, and as I used to do as a kid, I went into her into her bedroom because I like to see what's on her dresser. Just like when I was a kid. What's the makeup? The lipstick, and what's the perfume, and who are these pictures? Oh, let's see and there was one picture frame laying face down on the dresser. So I gotta look. It's an old man, but it's not my dad. It's not my dad. It's face down on the dresser. So I go to my sisters and I said, so what's the story with mom's dresser? She's got a picture frame face down on the dresser of some guy. And they go, oh, that's the Colonel. She's in love. And she'd love to get married to him, but he's almost 90 and he doesn't want to get married. And so she's heartbroken. And I went, oh my God, it's like she's a teenager, So it's like I realized then and there, the heart doesn't know how old it is. It just doesn't. You can fall in love in your 80s. So that just was always a remarkable moment for me. And then fade out, fade in. My daughter was graduating college, and I wanted to do for her what my mom did for me. My mom took me to Ireland when I graduated from high school. I took Jim and Emmy, and I went to Ireland when Emmy finished our daughter finished college. So we were driving on a bus, we did the whole bus. I didn't want to drive. I didn't want to be going, honey, careful of that. I wanted to relax because I would have been yelling at him the whole time. God bless him. So we went on the bus tour, and they take you to the, great places and tell you the story. So we're going through a little town, and the bus driver who, no, not the bus, there's a bus driver, and there's the man giving the tour and telling you all about the place. And he's like, this little town of 800 residents blossoms to 40,000 people during the month of September every year as they host a matchmaking festival where women from around the world come to meet and marry an Irishman. Well, it also turns out that they also have an LGBTQ part of their, it's a month-long thing. So men and women from all over the place come there to this matchmaking festival. And there's this man who lives there. He's the matchmaker, and he's the third generation matchmaker. And I wrote about it on my Facebook page, and my friend Jennifer saw that. Again, remember, she loves Ireland. She's Irish American. She's like, when, woman, when? Like, when is that festival? I want to be there. I'm like, I don't know, September. And I wrote in my Facebook comments, why has no one ever written a movie about this? And another friend of mine wrote to me, why don't you write it, Maggie? And I went, oh, it's like just everything sort of relaxed, and it just kind of came into me. And I went, yeah, I think I want to do that. So I talked about it when I got back to town, and I was in my acting class again, where we were doing writing. We had written a play together, and it won Encore Awards, and it was very nice. It was us thanking somebody we never got to thank, and I thanked as I mentioned, Dan Nicole, my teacher, because he really believed in me and gave me the part of a 35-year-old when I was 14, so and helped me get started in Houston with an acting coach. And so I wanted to thank him because he'd already passed away. So that's what the play was about. So Jennifer and I were in this class. It's not really just about acting, it's also about writing. And I come back, I'm enthusiastic about my trip, and I'm like, I don't know if I can do this or not. She goes, well, I'll help you, or whatever she said. So we decided to collaborate, and we wrote this movie. And by God, it's done very well. It's in 5 different film festivals have accepted it in their official selections. And one of them, we won Best Ensemble Screenplay, the Broad Humor Film Festival here in the LA area. And where else? Oh, and then we went to the American film market, which you don't really know about the American film market unless you're an independent producer writer, director. Oh, Scott does maybe. And you want to get your movie done. Well, Jennifer and I and our co-producer, Catherine, went to the American film market, and we knew Catherine was going to get to pitch. And she was basically pitching it based on the Largo AI analytics that investors want to know about. Like, who would this appeal to? What are the demographics? Will it make money? What are the comparables? What other movies have been made like this? It was, so she's handling all that. Meanwhile, Jennifer and I were in another pitch session. We're in another room, excuse me, where it was called the pitch session, and people had signed up and gotten selected out of hundreds and hundreds of people to be able to pitch their screenplay idea in front of the audience of producers, writers, directors, and other writers. Right, I said writers. Anyway, so they had been pre-selected and had weeks and weeks to prepare for their 2-minute pitch. When we got through with them, the judges, 3 judges on the stage, said, if anybody else would like to give it a shot, put your card in this basket that's being passed around, and we'll draw names and see who comes up, and they can get 2 minutes to pitch. And so Jennifer and I each had cards, so we both put our cards in, and came time to draw a name, and they picked one person. They got selected. They picked another 1 or 2 people, and then another card was pulled, and they said the name, and it was crickets. Nobody, that person wasn't in the room. They say the name again, nobody. So they said, well, I guess we got to pick another card. And I hear him say, Cupid Fest. And in the back of the room, you could hear, oh my God. It's just, we're flummoxed, and we're walking up to the stage. I'm literally putting my hand on people's shoulders. I'm going down between the 2 aisles, down the aisle between the 2 seating areas, and going, please say a prayer for me. I have no idea what I'm saying. Hello, please, would you mind? I'm going to go up. I have no idea. So I get up there, and Jennifer had smart, like she's a smart one, this one. She had sat there in the audience, go, well, if I had to go up on stage, what would I say? Meanwhile, I was a blank. I had nothing. But she picks up that microphone and she says, hi, I'm Jennifer Lynn O'Hara. And she puts the mic in front of me. I was able to spit out, and I'm Maggie Egan-Cummings. And then I handed that mic back to her because I had nothing after that. I knew my name. And then but she starts in talking about the characters and the plot and all. And then she hands it to me, and I did that pitch I did for you earlier. Cupid Fest is the story of 2 Irish American sisters, blah, blah, blah. I hand it back to her, and now she's going on, and we have 2 minutes, and there's a little timer on the floor, right? And so she's going on, and we're running out of time, and she's like, blah, blah, blah. And she looks at me, and we have 2 seconds left. And all I could think of is, and it's cute. And everybody went crazy in the audience. They loved it. They were laughing. Then the judges give their feedback. And one of the judges literally got up out of her chair, got on her knees, and went, I love this. I could eat this up with a spoon. Anybody out there else, raise your hand if you would watch it. And the hands were going up. And another one of the judges said, yes, if anybody came to me and said, this is a movie idea, I'd say, that's great. So we ended up winning top honors for our script, Cupid Fest, and got the attention of Stage 32, which we haven't hooked up with yet, but it's okay. We're still moving on. We're meeting with investors, and I hope it's okay to say this. So do you know the actor Dylan Neal? Okay.
Maybe.
Not? How do you know him?
Yeah. I'm a nerd, so I just follow names a lot.
Well, he was on, I think he was on Crusade. I'm pretty sure he was on Crusade. So I was at a 20-year reunion in Galveston, and he was sitting next to me. So chit chat. So we're friends on Instagram now, and somebody's type. Oh, take a look at him. Are you typing in his name?
Yeah. I okay, just he was on Murdoch Mysteries. That's a good show.
It was a great show. Yep. So, how about that face? Have you gotten to the face yet?
Oh yeah, that's a good face.
Handsome devil.
Because he was Pacey's older brother in Dawson's Creek, wasn't he?
I recognize that face.
Yeah. No, he's been on so many things, guys. So I've asked him if I could please send him our script so he could take a look at a role. I asked, can you do an Irish accent? He said, not really. But there's another role in there I would love for him to do. And he doesn't have to be Irish because he's attending the festival. So he could be from another country, and he's from Canada. So anyway, please wish me luck, because wouldn't it be cool if we had Dylan Neal be in our movie? Wouldn't that be great?
That would. I would watch it.
There you go. There you go. That's what we like to hear. I would watch it.
It sounds really cute, to be honest.
It does.
Yeah.
I'm not usually big on like romance kind of movies, but that has the premise is so different. I think there's so much that like you could really make a film out of. It sounds so unique as opposed to like all the other rom-coms out there.
Thank you. Well, I think that part of my mission, and it's a selfish one, truly, obviously, but we don't see women of a certain age on the screens, right?
Yep.
And as young women, you want to know that you're still being represented as you get older. And those of us already here that's why Grace and Frankie was probably so popular. It's like, oh my God, these silly, funny women dealing with real life problems, and it caught on like wildfire. So I just feel like it's kind of my mission to get more women of a certain age, get their faces on the screens, because I mean, they'll do it in England, Vera was a popular show that, they still think women of a certain age are of value and are still beautiful enough to put on the screen. They're not as a size 0 21-year-old, but there's beauty there and wisdom. And I mean, Helen Mirren, come on.
Exactly.
I mean, of course, they all know Helen Mirren was pretty dang hot in her day. But I wasn't bad either. I just wasn't famous. But details.
Well, we really appreciate the time, Maggie. This has been great. Is there anything else that you want to add or throw out there about how folks can find you, what you're working on, and we can steer people that way?
I am on Instagram and Facebook as Maggie Egan-Cummings. And I also I would love you guys to follow my Cupid Fest film, and I think it's either Cupid Fest or Cupid Fest Film Facebook page.
It's Cupid Fest Film, because I was just hunting it down. So yeah.
Oh, there you go. So that would be great. And I'm on TikTok too as Maggie Egan-Cummings. And it would be great to get as many followers as your little podcast can. I don't mean little, because it's important. Sure is to me. As many people as we can to follow, because along with preparing to get our movie Cupid Fest made, I'm working with my co-writer Jennifer and my co-producer Catherine Hollis Peters and Jennifer Lynn O'Hara, and we're going to be producing more than just Cupid Fest. But Cupid Fest, we might, I don't know, we might do a little fundraiser. And so any help, because there's a lot that goes on for pre-production in the development stage, where you need to hire attorneys and you need to do all that boring stuff. But it takes money. And I know it doesn't sound fun to say, oh, she needs money for attorneys. How boring. But if we don't get certain things done and out of the way, we can't move forward. So, we'll make it sound more fun than attorneys. Fundraiser, this is for
Development.
Yes, development. That's a good word.
here. What'd you say?
Development.
Development. Well, development. It is what it is. So I might be reaching out to you guys to see if you can help me spread the word.
Absolutely, yeah. We love
Definitely.
to. One of the things we've worked with the most too on this is Claudia Christian, who plays Ivanova, has been working with a group doing Dark Legacies, which is a whole universe thing, comic books, audio stories and stuff like that. And so we've been working to help promote that and support that. So we love backing up the work of the folks that we are enjoying watching on the screen. So anything we can do to help out, let us know.
Yeah.
Are angels, all of you. Thank
I wouldn't go that far.
I might be, but I don't know about you two.
She doesn't
Nicole,
listen to the podcast. We are not angels.
Don't let Nicole fool you. I knew her in college. There's no angel in that one. Not at all.
I don't know. Nicole, you and I were going to have a little coffee talking.
Yeah, I am definitely following you, Maggie, because you are my kind of gal.
Oh, that's wonderful. I've so enjoyed this. And thanks for letting me babble on.
Well, thanks for not running away when I Facebook stalked you, trying to get a hold of you. That's great. I appreciate it.
Oh, it wasn't creepy at all. No,
just a little bit.
It's okay if you say he is. We won't think less of you.
Well,
with friends like these, who needs enemies? Yes.
Right, exactly. So what's next for you guys?
For us, we have one more season of the show. We're finishing up season 4 here in the next 2 weeks. And then these guys haven't seen past that. So we've got a whole nother season. And then we'll be, I think at this point, we're figuring out what comes next. But for the Babylon 5 stuff, we'll be wrapping up here in October is how the math works out right now. So we've been doing this for about 2 years now. So the light at the end of the tunnel is a-coming.
I don't want it to.
I know. Where are you finding it? Are you is it Max? What are you watching it on?
It was on Max when we started. And so now if you're in the US, it's on Tubi and Roku channel, but also Warner Brothers just released a Blu-ray set for the first time. So it is available on Blu-ray now. And we continue to, hope beyond hope that JMS is shopping a reboot right now. So hopefully before it's all said and done, there'll be some new Babylon 5 out there as well.
Good. Love it. I'm so glad because that's been quite an uphill battle.
Yeah, from day one from the original show. I mean, he was shopping the original one back in the 80s. So it's been a labor for him, but he is that kind of curmudgeon guy who doesn't give up, from what I can tell.
Yeah. You know what I have to figure out, and I don't know if this is something you guys know about or not, but I just came from MarsCon and signed autographs, and I have a CD that's kind of cute. It's all songs from the American Songbook. I wished on the moon. I wished on the moon. Da 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 da. All the old jazz standards, like the Frank Sinatra kind of Tony. Okay, but I chose them all that they were stars or moons or suns or something. Outer space. And then I did little short audio crossover between songs so that there would be something fun to listen to. So anyway, I don't know if you have recommendations for, how do you get autographs and CDs out to the world if you wanted to start marketing them? Anybody's got thoughts on that, how to get a hold of me?
Well, I'll tell you what, in terms of the B5 fandom, there's a lot of social media presence and a lot of folks sharing stuff and going back and forth on who has, I just had one guy message me a couple days ago, hey, I got all the books, which have been out of print for 30 years. So it's definitely a group out there who's looking for stuff from the actors and from folks who have been involved in it. So just in the fandom alone, I bet there's a lot out there too. And if you're not doing it already, by the way, you got to be doing cameos because you'd be great at it.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh,
Telling you.
okay. I need help with this
Okay.
stuff like, oh, you're right. I would have to know how to get that going, but we'll see. That's a great idea though. I appreciate the vote of confidence. Thank you.
I know the fandom. They would go for it. They would.
They absolutely would do like a
Oh,
happy
yeah.
birthday message as like a news report.
An ISN happy birthday.
See, that's what you gotta
Yes.
do. You gotta get the background with the ISN logo and just say, "I will do your ISN birthday messages," and you will make some cash. I tell you.
Guys, I love you
And
so much.
we will only take 5%.
Yeah. We'll all be buying one.
5%, you will set it up for me because I don't know what I'm doing.
We will be your first clients. It'll be fine.
Yep. And I would do yours for free. If you guys know how to set something like that up, I don't.
Let's chat. We can get
Let's
that done.
chat. We'll continue this conversation. You guys will, stay in touch with me. And
Absolutely.
please follow so I know how to follow you back.
We have, and we'll be around. And we followed your Instagram as well as we're all following your stuff as we go. So, and also for those listening, all the links are down below as well too, so you can find them all easily. Whether you're on the podcast listening or if you're watching on YouTube, all the links are down below for all of Maggie's stuff.
Thank you. That's so nice. I appreciate it. This has
No
been
problem.
a Lyso heaven.
We really appreciate it. This is great. I mean, this has been a labor of love, especially for me and the other guys who have watched the show since literally 1993. It's been wonderful sharing what we enjoy with folks who hadn't seen it before, but also getting to talk to you all who were on the ground making it. It's been so much fun, and it's been really enjoyable chatting with you. You're wonderful. And to Nicole's point, you didn't have many episodes in the grand scheme of things, but your through line throughout was very important to the narrative of the show. So that's awesome.
Thank you. I know that primarily the ISN News anchor's role is to let me get you, audience, up to speed on what's going on in our universe, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's why to get those moments when he's like, you're actually going to be acting in this one where, you're going to feel something. So I'm so grateful to J. Michael Straczynski and I'm very grateful to Babylon 5 and Crusade fans because they're so, you guys are just loyal and smart and so much. I have to go, what did I do in episode in season 1? Oh, I was in the first one. Thank you, Scott.
I was impressed that Nicole just threw out an in game. You did this. I'm like, you're a newbie, Nicole. Good job.
I know.
Proud.
And I'm new to sci-fi and this show. I've only watched up to basically Endgame in the last episode after that. So this is all new to me, but I'm hooked. And for me, it's such a thrill to get to talk to somebody like you who was on the show, but you're just such a storied actor. You have so many credits on it's just amazing. So I greatly appreciate you taking the time to talk to us because for me being a newbie, watching the show and not knowing anything about sci-fi and diving into the show that I'm like, what am I getting myself into? I've really come to love it. And the fact that I get to actually converse with the people who are on the show that I've grown to love is just so cool. So thank you.
Please, it's my pleasure. I'm so grateful that you guys, like I said, the B5 fans are just so loyal and good and kind. Honestly, everywhere I've gone and met B5 fans, they're just really friendly and kind, and they care, and they're grateful that I'm there, and I'm grateful to be here, you guys. It's an honor to get asked. So thanks for asking me to the dance.
Thanks so much for joining us. We really appreciate it, and we'll chat again soon.
All right, sounds good.
Thank you.
Queenagers, don't forget, Queenagers.
Queenagers. I love that.
All right, thank you.
Thanks,
Thank
Maggie.
you so much, Maggie.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to Gray 17, a Babylon 5 podcast. You can find all the places to listen to and watch this podcast at anchor.fm/Gray17podcast or youtube.com at Gray17podcast. We want to hear from you, so join the conversation at Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, or Patreon. Be sure to subscribe and leave a review where you are listening to or watching this podcast. Gray 17 is not affiliated with, and the podcast has not been prepared, approved, or licensed by Warner Brothers or any other owners of the Babylon 5 copyright. All clips included in this podcast are the intellectual property of the respective copyright holders. They are included here for purpose of review, and no infringement is intended. The opening and closing themes are available from Falling Matter on YouTube.
And what's out there?
The rim,
And beyond that?
the truth.